Hello, welcome to my world. This is Catherine Kirby with Creative View Podcast, which is about knitting and crocheting. I live in Pennsylvania, which is in the eastern part of the United States, with my husband, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and since the last podcast, I had shared the news that Marcus passed away, and it's a sad house without him. No barking to let me know someone's at the door, but you move on. So I have a lot to share today. And the last time it was all about hats. Now we're moving into February, which is Valentine's month. After the last podcast, I found 2 ladies, Cheryl and Louise, who have a podcast called Fiber Trends. I'll put a link. And their podcast was about hats too. And I really enjoyed seeing the hats that they were doing and getting ideas from them. And so let's go on with the show. You're going to hear my dog Harley. He's like, what's going on? Yeah, he's not into hats, but he likes to prance around at night. I couldn't remember if I showed you the 1898 hat sailors and fishermen and so forth used to wear. I really love this pattern. You do the double wide band, and I like the way it's done, and then it gets folded. So it's double warm. This is a really soft merino yarn, Cascade Longwood. And if you check this pattern out in Ravelry, some people will do the top and bottom different colors, or they will do stripes and so forth. Excuse me, I get a very dry mouth, which makes it hard to talk right. If I look tired, it's because I'm on some medicine for fibromyalgia, and they're having medicine shortages. And we were talking on the one podcast about a book called 1 Minute After, where the grid gets shut down, and they ran out of medicines, and type 1 diabetics were especially hit hard. And I was talking to the pharmacist. She remembers when I was a practicing physician, and I was asking, how bad is this? And she said, we're having problems getting insulin. Not good. Okay, so that is one. I think I also showed the hats that are made from the Addy king size, and I'd also like to do some scarves with this, but these hats are double warm. They crank out in about 20 minutes. You push the whole hat in and then sew the top. And doesn't matter if you're a little kid, a big kid. This was one of my first ones, so it is not perfect, but that's okay. We're allowed not to be perfect, right? I also didn't remember if I showed, there used to be a Lion brand yarn called Amazing. And this was made out of Amazing. It's just shell stitch pattern. And we were also talking about doing the bands. How for some people, that's just not their favorite part. There are hats where you don't have to do that. So I thought I'd share some of that. There are some hats that start at the top and go around, so that would be one method. There are some hats that are sideways and just kind of get connected. So I thought I would try a new hat pattern called Sven. And there should be like jokes about Sven and who is the other one? But this is the Sven Beanie by Alana Harley. And I decided to do it in a variegated color to see how it would work out. And let me see here. I am not very far yet. But I will tell you one thing. I am loving not having to do the rim, the brim, whatever you want to call it. So I'd like to say hello to new viewers and old viewers. I am a Christian and I don't hide that, and I don't want to hide it. So if you love to talk about Jesus and everything, then you'll like it and love it. And if not, then join in. I think sometimes Christians talk over in corners and, well, they're not Christians, we'll just whisper over here. And that is not what the good news is about. I've heard several people say now that Christians actually have a light inside of them. And when people are in heaven and they look down, they know who are the Christians because of their light. And Jesus said, don't hold your light, don't hide your light under a bushel basket. Let it shine for everyone to see. And so I love my Heavenly Father, and I want everybody to know it, and I love Jesus. What do you think, Harley? Huh? More on this the next time. I like Casablanca. It's a discontinued cascade yarn with pretty color changes. And with fibromyalgia, there's so much I want to do, and then I get slammed with pain or horrible cramps, and then I really miss Marcus because he used to cuddle with me. And Sandy, my little girl who's over here snoring, I don't know if maybe she'll turn into a little cuddler, but she's downstairs a lot, and we tend to go upstairs. We'll sit on the bed, watch a movie, whatever. And she was always in the back bedroom, but now that Marcus died, she sleeps out here on his bed, and sometimes she's just kind of wandering around. So I picked her up the other day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, carried her upstairs on my bed. She's a little Shih Tzu. She immediately goes off in the far corner with her backside to me. And she was so cozy on our bed that when we went up to bed at 12:30 at night, we had forgotten about her. She was still out snoring away. So last night, I was getting ready to go upstairs, and she came to the stairs, and I thought, oh, she wants to be carried up. I think I showed you the last time, Sharon, a friend, and she helps out at the shop, did this hat called Hasten. I was thinking that would be a cute name for a puppy, and has ear flaps like that. We've had a lot of snow. This is great hat for being out in the snow because it hugs your ears. And I had told a funny story about tater tots. And last week I saw one of those little shorty videos that just pull you in. You love them. And it was a little puppy called Tater Tot. And I thought, what a cute name for a puppy. This is a Jody Long yarn, which is sold by Knitting Fever. It has a silver, I hope you can, a silver sparkle to it. And doesn't have the greatest stitch definition, but I think if it were done on a smaller needle, it would. This is a pattern that I designed, and the yarn is called Glam Haze, which the first time I saw it, I thought it was ham glaze. Like you buy a hat and you get this packet of glaze. Thought that was really funny. I guess it's glamorize with a haze to it, a halo, a haze. And it's amazingly soft. You know, I think I've been used to metallic yarns that are rough, and this isn't like that. And the last time I was working on designing a hat with Ella Ray Lace Merino Chunky, which is a merino yarn, and has a little bit of slouch there. And you could, you know, I guess you could turn it up. It's kind of interesting that years ago people wore their hats way up there. Wonder if it will go back to that, like all fads kind of, you know. I was going to run this pattern the whole way up, and I really didn't enjoy doing it. So I thought, no, I think we'll just do a little bit. And I guess I could have switched colors. So when I test the pattern a little bit more, I might do that. Try switching out some colors. You know, it's the little things in life that make you happy. My cat Patches, she's a 3-colored cat. She screeches. I don't know if she didn't have a mother with her, but after almost 2 years of listening to her just meow, 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 just kind of realized that that is the way she meows. And she's not mean or anything. When we get visitors, they're like, that's a mean cat. No, it's just, you know. So my little grandson Tobin that comes over, he just seeks her out all the time, whether she wants him to or she doesn't want him to, and just spends time with her, and he'll flick her nose, and, you know, she lets him get away with it. He's 7, and he has gotten her to start meowing. The other day, guys, look, Grandma, she meowed. And she did. It was a meow. And I'm like, look at that. We were all excited. Meow. And she's starting to do it more now. She still shrieks. I mean, she is, 5, 6 years old? You know, old habits aren't going to just go away. And she's starting to just ma. And we're excited about it. It's the little things in life that God gives you that you can just take them out whenever you want, and they just make you happy. I saw this video this morning where a squirrel was climbing down a bird feeder, and he got down on the bars and he just started going around and around and around, spinning faster and faster until he flew off, and it was silly. This is the hat that my husband wanted. This is Hasten. And I was watching Mrs. D's stitching podcast, which I think you would like. And she was so excited when one of her children finally wanted her to knit something for them. And then in the end, she said, well, you know, this was a pain. Every day, her daughter's inspecting it and wanting modifications, and my husband's never jumped into the whole knitting thing. He had this navy blue acrylic hat that was all pilled. Then he started trying on some of these because he had this prejudice against wool, like wool's going to be really scratchy, and say, well, you know, I like that. I would wear that. So he wanted a Hasten hat, and he picked out 2 colors of Magnum, which is a cascade yarn. It is like the bulkiest, and it's the bulkiest of the super bulkies. And I wasn't thinking that it was going to be bigger. And also, it really made my hands hurt because by the time I got down here, I'm on a size needle. Robin Partridge had just been in the shop. Hi, Robin, if you're listening. First time I met Robin, she said, I'm going to tell you my name and you'll never forget it. It's two birds, Robin and Partridge. Well, Robin was saying, oh, I've stayed away from super bulky hats because they make my hands hurt. And I said, really? But now I know what she means. This hat does tend to get a point on it. I'm thinking there's a way around that. Sew it in. But when I got down here, I forgot to do a row of the blue and then switch back to tan. That was the first thing. My hands were really hurting. I just couldn't wait to get it done. And then when my husband tried it on, it's really big for me, but he kind of got this look on his face. I knew what was coming. He said, what yarn is this? Well, it's a little scratchy. And I want him to wear it. Of course I want him to. So I have this yarn called Caribou, which is a Scassell yarn. And it was like 12:30 at night, and I thought I was going to have this hat finished. And I was determined to just plow through. So I'm crocheting along and then kind of going around and going back and through. But what I didn't count on, what I didn't realize is it was all coming out the edges. And while it was softer, and it did help it to feel like really nice, he looked like a ragamuffin because this stuff was sticking out all over, almost like a scarecrow. And so now it's the next day, and I didn't get to sleep until 3 o'clock. And so what I did, I got a tan yarn, and I sewed this all down. Sewed it to the other strands, and I see it's starting to work itself out again. So I think I'm gonna have to, because my husband's not picky, but he doesn't, let's see here, wait a minute, guys, I got this on backwards. There we go. He doesn't want to look silly either, you know. So there we go. And I kind of see what she meant by knitting for relatives. Oh, had lots of yarn left, lots of yarn. So I got all of this left and a whole bunch of tan. And he was saying the other day, you know, I could use a pair of slippers. And I said, hey, I'm already on it. This is non-felting slippers by Yuko. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Nakamura. Honestly, this took an evening. I think if I do them again for him, I might go down a needle size. But what a fabulous knitting party when you make these. This goes the whole way across. So you have this big long strip. And I don't know why you couldn't crochet something the same way. And then at some point, this gets pulled in, and then you're just doing this part. I didn't sew it together yet because I want to make sure the second one matches. He tried them on, they fit great. But I also know that superwash yarns the stitches don't stick together like non-machine washable yarn, and so they do get bigger. So I might, when I sew this together, so now I will go here on the bottom, is maybe try to sew them in a little bit tight. Then he says, why don't you make yourself a pair? And I said, I think I will. Oh, I just caught this string underneath my leg and just like that pulled a whole bunch of stitches out. Okay, let's just put these on a crochet hook here. Wow, that happened so fast. I know crocheting or knitting alike, if you don't, if you don't work your, I wonder if anybody has figured out a way just to crochet a bind off, because I'm just going through, I'm just going through 2 stitches at a time, and let me tell you, that was about the easiest bind off I ever did. But you'd have to have your stitches on a big long hook. Well, that was cool. That's that super bulky yarn. And I showed you the shell beanie last week. I thought I would play around with yarn a little bit. So I took a DK black yarn. This is for a little child, but it needs some type of a bow there. What color do you think? And I took this yarn called Sparkle, which has glittery parts in it, but it's very soft. And I did them together, and I only got the glitter at the one part. But yeah, it needs some kind of a little bow. Wonder what, I thought it was very cute, or even a little butterfly motif or something. Maybe if I modified this, I would bring it out a little bit at the edge, but I love to make hats for little girls. Love it. I have hats that aren't finished, and some things, when you put them down, it's just a pain. So I got out the one night hat. It's turning into a 1-year hat. Because obviously I got off the pattern. I honestly think, and I did this with the Hasten hat, that some hats or some projects, when you've had them put away and you get them out and you get all off track, you're honestly better just to start over. It takes a lot less time, and you whiz through it, and for all the knitting, ripping that I've done here, I could just have started over. Here is my dog's little sweater. I think the last time she had it on. So I took it off and washed it. It smells nice and fresh. This is called Juno, Juno. It's a free pattern and very easy and quick to make. You start up here and come down, do your decreases, and it's so cute, and she likes it. She likes having it on. It's merino, it's nice and soft. So what else? What else has been going on? Some knitting and crocheting and crafty podcasts that you might like. Noble Character Crafts. Back to Blighty. Blighty's a place. CraftyClegg Creations with Jeanette. The Fiber Friends I mentioned. Ruth loves to knit. Music by Tim Janis. Very beautiful instrumental music with incredible like photographs running all through it. There's a new knitting magazine. It's online. It's free. And you have to go to Yumpu, YUMPU. I'll put a link. And apparently it's controversial because he blows the whistle on bad players. And I get it. There is and what he says is an anti-Republican, a liberal, an anti-Christian dominance that has taken over the fiber world and caused people by the thousands to drop out because they're bullied. And I see it. It makes me quiet because if I'm in a group and I say something, I'm going to get asked to leave. But to say that somebody's not welcome in a yarn shop because they're a Trump supporter or they're Republican or they don't believe in masks or whatever. So now we have discrimination if somebody doesn't believe that masks are effective. It is certainly not a spirit of love, and it's not a spirit of inclusiveness like they say it is. So he does blow the whistle on some bad eggs. I say go for it. Let's claim back the joy of the craft. The big Stratus, oh, that's funny. That looks so different seeing it on the screen than it does holding it. You take a skein of Amatola Grande, which is wool and silk, blend it with 2 skeins of cotton merino, which is a concept yarn. You do it in a tube, and I'm thinking, man, this would roll off the machine. Wow. And then you just graft it or do it together. It is so super soft. I just want to snuggle up in it and go out in the cold. We've had temperatures as low as, I think, wind chill of 3. Woo. I had kind of a bad day yesterday. I'm out of my medicine. And then you get into insurance company fights like, well, we don't have the generic, but we have the name brand. Well, that's good. Well, unfortunately, you don't have a prior authorization for that, and it's expensive. And well, how long would it take to get an appeal? Well, up to 30 days. Is there anything else we can help you with, Mrs. Kirby? So not the best day yesterday. Lots of pain and crawling in bed and wishing I had Marcus and lots of paperwork to do. We have been notoriously late with getting our taxes in year after year. Various things. A couple years ago, I lost all my records. Well, I found them out in the garage. Guess my husband carried them out there, and I didn't want to do them all over, so we kept putting it off. And then, of course, you pay penalties. And then the year before, my husband got very sick and could have died, and of course, it was the last thing on my mind. This year, we got a letter from our accountants saying, after much thoughtful consideration, it's always that way, right? After much thoughtful consideration, well, they've decided we would probably be better served by another agency. And my husband and I looked at each other and we laughed because we get it. And when we finally got our taxes done for 2020, because it's a business and everything, our bill was $1,700. Plus we owed, federal tax, county tax. And my husband asked, can we take out monthly payments? So we're not their favorite customer. So this is the big Stratus, and the designer has a yarn shop, and she comes up with the cutest patterns. And she's such a pretty woman. And I saw a picture of her daughter modeling something. She looks just like her mom. Big Island Knits, maybe? Not sure about that. So I think some people think when you're Christian, it's not fun. In fact, a couple years ago, we went to the public school for it was an open house, not like an open house. It was an open house for parents and grandparents. My granddaughter might have been freshman or sophomore year. And out in the hallway, they had framed reports about all different religions of the world. Very little on Christianity. And I learned after that the textbook had 28 pages of text on Islam, 1 page on Christianity, teaching the children that it's a restrictive disease. Let me tell you, if you get to know Jesus, if you surrender your heart to him and have a personal relationship, it is the most fun you'll ever have. God always meets you wherever you are. So I was talking to Joanne in California. Joanne, I don't think you're watching, but she's not a knitter or crocheter or a fiber crafter, but we got to meet through the podcast, and she is a pediatric nurse, and she was telling me that her dream would be to have a farm for disadvantaged kids, and that she was talking to the owner of Leg Up Farm, where it is a horse farm for children with problems, learning problems, whatever. And I said to her, that's near me. I'm pretty sure. And I looked it up, and it is. And I asked her if she ever heard of Kim Meeder, who is it Whispering Pines Ranch out west? And I first heard her on Focus on the Family years ago. And the stories she told, I couldn't get them out of my head, and I didn't want to. And I ended up buying her book, and just wonderful. So I was telling her about Kim Meeder, and I was telling her about another ranch. Well, I was looking up Kim Meeder so that I could send her a link. The evening before, I also do some podcasts for people with repressed sexual memories that come to memory. And if you aren't interested in them, just skip over. But I was speaking to this one fellow, and I don't know why, because I don't know if he's interested in God, but I just kept writing and saying that Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. My dog is snoring. I think you probably hear Sandy. Talks about how he leads me beside still waters. King David, who wrote this, was a shepherd. He knew all about shepherding, and he knew that sheep are very skittish. This dog is very skittish. And if they're beside running water, they can't relax. So you have to take them beside quiet water. Sheep get most of their water that they drink from the morning dew. So you don't have to worry about taking them into water to get drinks. But I wrote that during those peaceful hours beside the still waters, that is when you learn to trust the shepherd. And it's the same with us. When things are going good, God is taking care of us, we learn to trust him, because bad times will come. And the shepherd is going to take the sheep up the mountainous terrain where all the predators are, to take them to the tableland, which is the most luscious, greenest, nutrient-filled grass that they can have. But that's where God prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And there are going to be the jackals and the foxes and the lions and the bears baring their teeth and dripping with saliva, wanting to tear them apart. But that's not going to happen. They trust their shepherd, and he is leading, and he is going to take care of them. He has a staff and a rod. He has both ends covered, the defensive and the offensive. That little crook can pull a little sheep back if he starts to stray it. And he can also beat predators on the head. It says, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And when you get tired, the shepherd puts you over his shoulder and carries you. Puts your little heart up against your little head up against his heart. And it's such a beautiful picture. And I was pouring all this out to this gentleman, not even knowing if he wanted to hear it. He was probably like, what? But that tough times will come. We will all walk through the valley of the shadow of death, where dark times can even threaten our very lives, our livelihood. And when I was looking up Kim Meeder, I pressed, the buttons, and right away she was saying, every life is going to go through the valley of the shadow of death. What? I'm like, Lord, that is what I love about you. You always meet us right there. It's like you lead us there and then you confirm it so that we know it's you. The Bible also says, my sheep know my voice and will not listen to another. We know when God is talking to us, like, Lord, you got my attention. She says, with a big smile on her face, every life is going to go through the valley of the shadow of death. And when we're in that place, when we're being crushed by dark times, by disappointment, we're not told to camp out there. And that is what happens to some people. They just drop an anchor and camp out there. They're so stuck in what happened to them that they don't move on. No, she said, there's only one thing that we can do, and that's worship. And that is when the glory of God comes down. That is when we defeat our enemy, when the worst times come and we are worshiping. Well, somehow I felt like this is for me. I don't think this is for the other guy. I think, this is for me. That day, that very day, I found out something so devastating that it could take away my livelihood. I can't share it right now. Devastating. my husband and I just looked at each other. And I said, it's time to worship. And we worship, we praise God. And all through the day and yesterday and today, anytime I think about that problem, I start singing. I found an old hymn book, take it to bed and, go through these Psalms, Rock of Ages, Faith of My Fathers, In the Still By and By, any hymn. And I start singing it. And I love to sing. Years ago, I was in a choir and people told me that I was out of tune. And I got in a handbell choir, and that was a lot of fun. There's a lot of giggling going on. But then I was in another church choir, and I was told the same thing. So I started to get a complex. And then God put in my hands a copy of a book for children, Mr. Moose. Mr. Moose loves to sing, but people don't like to hear him sing. And by the end of the book, he just decides to sing out, right? Just sing it out. One of my favorite songs is Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus. And I think the Bible says, fix your eyes upon Jesus, and that word is a permanent fix. You never take your eyes off. And if you don't know that song, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face. You might know that. It's really pretty. I can't sing now. My throat is dry. So I found something that I need to get working on. Found more than one project. So keep us in your prayers. All that you ever need, no matter how big the problem, is more of him. That's it, more of him. This is a little blanket I started. It's out of Leisure Arts, I think the best of baby blankets. And it's a rectangle, and then it has a beautiful edging on it. And so if you joined in the program late, there's a dog snoring in the background. I listened to her in my one podcast that, oh my goodness, this is my basket that I crocheted, 2 tones of blue. And I found a project from a couple years ago called Nessie. And the woman named it that because it reminded her of a Loch Ness monster with all these. It's a lot of stitches, but once you get that in your head, you're okay. I think it's a lot of short rows the way it looks. I think Elizabeth Zimmerman said something like this: people don't mind knitting 20 stitches 2,000 times, but they don't want to knit 200 stitches 20 times or something like that. Projects that are long like this go really fast. Short projects to me go slow because you have to keep flipping them back and forth and back and forth. So that is my little basket. And if you ever make one, it's very easy. You do it like a hat where you do your circle, and then you do 2 doubles or 2 halves, whatever, in each one. And then you do 2 in 1 and then 1. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And then 2, 1, 1. So you're increasing gradually. And then when you want to stop, you do the stitch in the back loop only, and that will get it to stand up. And then you just keep going around. when you want to make your handles, you mark off where you want your handles so that they'll be equal. So you'll have the same amount of stitches. And then when you hit that spot, you just chain however many stitches. You don't go in, you just chain. And then the next row, I did the half doubles over the chain to make it strong. Okay, and it seems like there might be one or two more things. And oh, I have to tell you something funny. As my husband gets older, he seems to talk a lot when he's sleeping, talking in his dreams. He used to mumble and I couldn't hear anything he was saying, but now it's so clear. I often don't sleep, or I sleep lightly, like it's morning and I've been up all night. He was telling me the other day how to, well, you go down 95 and you turn here and you do this and that. And so last week is towards morning, and he says, Catherine, that pan on the stove's on fire. And he, puts out his hand. And you're not supposed to be able to move when you have a dream. But anyway, I started to say something. He said, never mind. Like, yeah, I know I'm dreaming. Just forget it. And right after that, he goes, Catherine, the whole house is on fire. He's yelling, Catherine, the whole house is on fire. And I said, well, let's get out of the house. Thinking you have stress in your dream, I'll just say the right thing to relieve that stress. But instead, he says, don't you placate me. And he gets angry with me, like maybe half in the dream, half out of the dream, mostly out of the dream. I don't know. I'm thinking, placate. Never heard my husband ever once use the word placate. And I said, I wasn't yes, you were placating me. I thought, I was just trying to help your dream along. Well, don't. And I thought, hey, wait a minute. You're the one that's waking me up. Well, the next afternoon, I asked him if he remembered it. And he's like, kind of. And I told him what he said. And he said, I did? Yeah. I said that. Yeah. So later that evening, he said to me, just out of the blue, I said, placate? I said, yes. He said, I don't think I ever have used that word before. I must have read it somewhere. We laughed about it. Every time we bring it up, it's kind of a joke now. I'll say, don't you placate me. And he'll laugh. So I think I was going to make this for a Christmas gift one year, and then other things took over and it didn't get done. And I decided that I like to just use little bowls I have around the house for my yarn bowls. They were just as nice as a yarn bowl. In fact, one of the best kept secrets is that a kitchen bowl will serve just as good as a yarn bowl. There's nothing magical about having that opening. It will pull right off. But I decided that I would use some nice yarn, some alpaca yarn. It's really, really soft. It's a DK weight. I don't know why, but in the beginning of running the shop and all, I had the idea, the belief that stuffed animals and things should be made with cheap yarn. I have no idea why I thought that, why I didn't think that stuffed animals deserved, I don't know. So I decided to do it with good yarn, and I guess I decided to make him tan. You know, it's been a few years and I don't remember, but there comes a point during Christmas knitting where you realize friends and family are not losing sleep because you don't have their Christmas gift done. And sometimes you wonder, do they even care? So let me see if I can find this here. This is called Jingo by Phoenix Knits, all one word. When I was a child, my grandmother, who lived next door, hand crocheted stuffed animals, and my brothers were little and they would run over and grab them, and she would smile and say, well, I guess I just lost that one. And she would let them have it. And oh my goodness. Well, that one has some attitude. Hey, I think when you make animals, it's all in the eyes. There, he is tan and he is cute. You know, the thing about stuffed animals is there's 14 people that made these, and I guarantee you they are all going to look different. It just works out that way. No, look how cute, all the bright colors. And it's like going back to before kindergarten, when a cow can be purple or red or green or whatever. You know, I found a journal from when my oldest granddaughter was in kindergarten, and she said, Grandma, you know what the worst thing is? And I said, what? And she said, coloring inside these lines. And it's true. Your creativity is driven right out of you when you start school, that everybody has to be the same, you know? Oh, I really like him with the striped neck. And I like the picture they took, 8 photos. And look at this one. Look at those eyes. Oh, that is darling. Wow. And I'm assuming that he gets felted. So a few years ago, I knitted a bunny rabbit with dotted dress, I think it was, and it was for a granddaughter away at college, and I spent all Easter watching movies, sewing everything together. Like, you just can't believe that it's going to take you that long, but it did. Well, by then, my granddaughter had left to go back to college, so I had to mail it. There it is, by Julie Williams. She specializes in bunnies. Then I found out, it's like, hey, I'm just the grandma, nobody tells me anything, that she only went back to take an exam and then was coming right back. And it's like, well, what about my bunny? Yeah, my bunny. Well, then I was told that she checked her mailbox. I guess that was one of the things you have to do. And it was there, but so Julie does a variety. I thought she mostly specialized in bunnies, and then all the cute little outfits that go with them. And I mean, I would do it again, and I think if I was going to make a bunch, maybe I would do all the legs and then all the ears. And I think when I was putting the pieces together, I found out I had 3 legs and only 1 arm, and I thought I'd be done in like an hour or 2, and it just went on and on and on. So I was saying I didn't have the best day. I wanted to make a really good supper. We had the grandkids over, and you know when you have all this stuff going on at one time and then you get interrupted, and oh, that's scalded and then this burnt, and I was trying to make macaroni and cheese, and the boys like the craft stuff. It may not be the best nutrition for you, but then the powder didn't get mixed up right, and the pork barbecue I made, it didn't taste good enough, so I added some new barbecue my husband got, yeah, my saucy husband got, not realizing it had like a smoky taste. And my husband got some gluten-free gnocchis. Is that how you say that? Gnocci. And without a sauce or something, they're just so bland that the whole meal was just kind of a bust. In fact, the little guy, he didn't even eat anything. He says, "May I please be excused?" He probably went home and said, "I'm starving." Supper at Grandma's house wasn't good, so my husband felt bad for me. He took them to wrestling. It was picture night, and he came home. He brought me a candy bar. So you can actually make these little tiny teacup bunnies. Isn't that so cute? Or a little bunny for somebody to just put in their pocket. That's a free pattern called the Teacup Bunny. So I think I'm probably all talked out. Oh, no, one more hat. Yes, one more hat. I don't think I showed this, but the time has come to get this finished. And this is out of the Stitch book, but not from this one, I don't think. It's from the one that's for men only. And I don't have that in front of me, but it's a ski mask hat with eyes, and I think my grandsons will love it. I got lots of ends. Oh my goodness, how did this happen? So I hope it somehow, I haven't looked at the pattern yet, but I think somehow, well, that's the nose right there. The nose holds the mouth. And I think that somehow this comes down like a T. So I am not far from being finished, not far at all. It's done with Debbie Bliss Cashmerino. So it's a nice saw, but I definitely want to get it done. The boys are graduating from high school and it's time. So I would just like to close in prayer. Dear Father God, thank you so much, dear God, for every viewer that you have sent my way, for this little snoring dog that needed a home and brings joy to this family. Dear God, bless each person that has tuned in and help them to have so wonderful, close relationship with you. We love you, God, so much. Please come back soon. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless every one of you. Shine, baby, shine. See you next time.